Hi, my name is Peter. I'm going to show you today how to duplicate a gun grip. I want to walk you through the process of taking a foam board, cutting it, and placing the gun grip on the foam board, applying the silicone and the casting. What you would need obviously is foam boards, and cut them out in 1-inch strips, which I've done already. First, I measured the surface area which I want to glue the gun grip on. You want to keep at least 1 inch to 3/4 inch gap around it, which I've done here. Another tip I'm going to recommend you do is take your typical tape, packaging tape, cut a strip of it. Where the gun grip is going to be placed on the board, I want you to tape it down right underneath it. And I'll explain to you why I'm doing this. I'm going to apply some hot glue gun here, some hot glue in the area, just a little bit so it tacks down really well. And then we're going to squeeze it down. And then we're going to apply clay. And the reason I'm applying the tape, which you'll see next, is I'm going to be shaping the clay, filling all the gap areas. But when I do that using water, the water is going to seep down through the board and causing the board to lose its shape. And usually paper and water don't react too well. So the tape will act as a barrier. So you can freely scrape around the edges, get all the extras out, and the clay will remain in the edges and the cracks and crevices where you don't want the silicone to go underneath it. And this is the reason I do this. And this is a cheat. Normally I would cut an acrylic piece to this specific size, and I use them over and over again. This particular size is a little bit off, and it's for the demonstration purpose as well. I make a few different sizes of these, ready to go, and it's easy. Just glue the foam core on the sides, put your subject in the center, and then basically take the clay and just go for high production. In this situation is a little different. I want to show you what you can do at home. Just put little drops, not too much. You don't want it to change the shape of the height of the part here. So let's make sure it's on the tape area. Push it down nice and tight so we have nice. I have my natural medium clay, cup of water, sponge, popsicle stick, large, small, and I will let that saturate in the water for quite some time. What that's going to do is allow the sticks to be nice and saturated, so when I do scrape it along the edges here, it won't stick to the wood as I'm doing that. So the purpose for this exercise is to get those cracks filled in. Those cracks need to be filled in so silicone doesn't go underneath it and make a mess, then I have to sit there and try to clean it up, which I can still do. That happens sometimes. However, I want to minimize that, and this is one of the steps we take. I've taken one of the bars apart. I always put it back into a plastic bag, whatever I use, so I don't waste. So I'm going to cut a piece of it right now. All right. And I'm going to go around the edge here. In fact, I'm going to put it here as well, like that. I can see the purpose of the tape. Then I'll sit there and worry about the absorption. First I'm going to push it in the bottom first, squeeze that in. And then as I'm doing it, actually what's doing it's squeezing out this direction, so it's filling in the gap. See that? So I press it downward and then just pull parallel to the shape of the line. As I'm doing that, the clay is expanding, seeping outwards. That's the technique that I use. As you notice, the clay is actually falling apart and becoming creamy. That's what I want. In fact, it's not a bad idea. I can put a masking tape on it. That, so I don't dirty my part. There's a lot of detailed nooks and crannies that'll fall in. We're trying to save time, not sit there, play with it. Alright, so now, see what happened? Slow it down a little bit. Get it wet, all the way across. Let's sit there, try to fill in that gap I just made. Alright, so slow down, make sure the line is all the way across, lots of water. You can use your finger if you like, but stick is a lot better. You can buy a softer clay. I mean, it's really up to you. I'm gonna come around here, bend. I'll use the sponge last. That's my touch-up. So I think the best technique is just to come down and just squish it on the edges, and then afterwards I could also push it back in, and that's actually working nicely too. So you're gonna have to just make your own technique work. There's many different ways of approaching this, obviously. Let's close this blade so we don't hurt anybody, especially me. Alright. It's looking good here. It's looking good there. Do want to put a little piece in here, looks like. Let the water drip and slowly break down the clay so it becomes creamy consistency. Just tap, tap down. I tried so many different methods. I put polymer, coated it, put it on, and it splattered on the side. Clay is the best way to go. I've tried many different ways, and this is the fastest method of getting the edges coated properly and complete control as well. The key is to repeat the process without making a mess. Here's the process. What I'm doing is pushing down, pushing down. It's okay to use water as long as you don't flood it. Make it nice and wet. What that's going to do is turn the clay into creaminess, consistency, and then you can just come back and just do that like that. Just be careful. And then we're going to do the sponge afterwards to make that all nice and smooth. Right now my concern is make sure I got enough covering the holes inside. Tap, tap, tap down. It's looking good. The edge here is a little bit tricky. piece here. Come around. Now, if the popsicle stick's not going, you can just take a scissor, just clip the edges here, and then now you have made your own tool. In fact, this is just fine. I'm getting in there. Push down, down, down. Make it wet. Just push it down. We're going to smoothen it out with the sponge later. Okay. See that? Let it dry. You could actually put a cookie sheet. It's a similar, see that? It doesn't stick. See these spider web strings you get? I call them spider webs. They kind of look like spider webs. You have to keep those off of this area here. Otherwise, it will contaminate your design. Your mold will come out with all kinds of imperfections. So make sure the spider web is gone. You could also do this with your hand afterwards. So you can see that how I did. There's a little trick I do is I lick my finger or make my finger wet. You'd also use this cup filled with the clay, and I just smear my finger. You don't have to do that. It's just my little thing I do. Next, we're gonna do is this part here. In fact, let's do this here right now. Also, you have to do it from right here as well. Go up, come around a little bit, hold it in place. I'm seeing potential gaps here. I'm just going to go ahead and put some glue in here just in case. Excellent. This is what I'm talking about. See this? Make sure this is not inside your box. Alright, here we go. We're going to be using the platinum silicone mold. The platinum silicone mold comes in food grade. Notice here it's a 1-to-1 ratio. It's intended for making candies, cookies, cupcakes, and it's great because you could put it and bake it 400 Fahrenheit and make as many as you like. As soon as you add an agent to it, for our purpose we're going to be adding a thinning agent because I want to pull the details out of this particular client's grip we're going to be doing right now, there's a lot of detail in there. So I want to add a slight thinning agent so I don't get any bubbles, air trapments in there. It'll air out a lot quicker. And once we add that in there, it is not considered a food grade anymore. So once you add anything to the mixture, it's no longer food grade. It's strictly for industrial purposes, and that's where we're going to be using for today. Later on, we'll make videos for the cookies, but for our demonstration today, strictly to make molds for the industrial use, to cast a gun grip. That's what it's for. I will add a candy to it so we can see the color into the opaque, so we can pull the details out. You can see the details. It's not going to change anything to the chemistry. It's just going to make it more visible. And you don't have to do this. This is strictly for my video demonstration. The thinning agent, I'll add 10% of it. And once I mix these two, I will add it in there and mix it slowly, and I'll show you the process. One more thing. We can actually cure it, speed up the curing process within 30 minutes, and we can have a hard silicone mold within 30 minutes by putting the mold into the oven. 15 minutes will, with 115 Fahrenheit, will speed up the process of the curing, and I'll show how that's done as well. So let's go ahead and start the process. You do need the cup, scale, obviously the platinum silicone mixture, a thinning agent. What I do is take the cup, put it on the scale, if you notice, and I zero it out. The way you do zeroing it out, you press the Z here, and it zeroes it out. This scale is also being sold on especially resin accessory site. And now what I'm going to do next is pour the... You'll notice real quick, I'm going to bring this out to you. I've actually have tagged each of the cap A and B, because what happens sometimes is you will put this down, you pick it up and you accidentally put on another one, and then now you have contaminated the whole now this is the A. It says it's 63, 62. It's okay if it's teeter-tottering back and forth. So now we're going to zero this. I'm going to do 62. There we go. That's it. It's okay if it's by 164, it came out just fine. We clean that off really nicely too. Use a different tissue so don't contaminate it. So now we're going to take this, we're going to mix it. Alright, let's add the thinning agent. I'm going to add 10% of it. So I'm going to add about 8. Roughly 10%. Doesn't have to be perfect, at least for my purpose here. So let's zero this out. And there we go. Perfect. Again, pick it up, mix it slowly, one direction first, and then when you're mixing it, pick it up like that. also put on the sides here, walls, just in case. Do it again, so we can get the puddle effect. Let's move these out of the way here. Okay. One more time. Here we go. You notice this is more smoother consistency. I think the dye had adverse reaction to the platinum. Keep in mind this platinum silicone has its own rules, and it's not your typical silicone rubber. The tin base. The dye normally used with the tin base, I neglected to double check. It's a solvent-based dye, so I think it had an effect with the platinum. We'll find out once I demold it. We'll find out what kind of damage we caused. Hopefully it's not too bad. As long as I get the mold out with all details, that's all I really care. So now I'm just scraping the walls. The silicone platinum rubber is cured. Took about 30 minutes at 150 Fahrenheit, and it cured perfectly. it's nice and stiff. The process I like to do, common, is I would let the mold sit out for about 10 to 15 minutes, let the bubbles air out, because as soon as you put it in there, it's going to start solidify, get hard. So I want to give time for the air bubbles to escape, which I did that first. And then I put it in here. Once you put it inside the oven, take notice that this is hot glue gun. I mean, the heat's going to open up the walls, and you don't want it to drip and make a mess. So what you can do is, I deflected the heat, putting in aluminum. What you could also do is put a cookie sheet as well. So if it does sort of a little bit melt, you could take it off without making a mess. Otherwise, I've had it before where the grill had to take it out and sit there, scrape, and have fun with it. So this is a quick tip I suggest you do. The hot glue can melt. What I like to do is do it at 15 minutes increment. So I would put it in there. It'll ping, and I'll come take a look at it real quick, make sure everything's okay, nothing is leaking accidentally. And then I would commence on the next 15 minutes right away. Don't wait. Let it continue again another 15 minutes. And then you can touch it ever so slightly, make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to do. And once it's all said and done, you just take it out and feel it, make sure it's nice and dry. I've had situations where there can be pockets of the silicone not dry. So when you do run into that situation, flip it over, put it back in the oven for 15 minutes, and let it cure. So let's go ahead and demold this. See how easy it's coming apart. I did put a little bit of oil on the side here. I'm being careful because if I have to, I could reuse the base again. So, as you saw, it was fun putting the clay in place. So here we go. Cross fingers. I believe I did mention about the dye situation. Seems okay so far. Here we go. Let's peel it off now. What I like to do is peel it this way. I'm going to touch it first, see if it's sticky. Tiny bit sticky. So I'm going to be careful, just hold one side here and peel it off. Oh, that came out nice. That came out really nice. Looks like it still did escape through the cracks somehow. And I know why. This is a foam core. What happens is when I do tap it sometimes, this has a little flex. You notice that? And I'm used to using my acrylic. When I tap it, the acrylic doesn't allow, it's just stiffer, so it's not going to have any. I can see some cracks here. I see them over here. See that? It did somehow sneak into the cracks. Put some, I'm looking for bubbles. No bubbles. Came out perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and wash this right now with, I like using Dawn because it cuts grease really well, so I'm going to use that right now. What I'm going to do is, it's still a little bit sticky, which is fine. What I would do is, in this situation, I would put it back in the oven for another 15 minutes and just let it cure further, because obviously this is still not 100% cured, but for this particular video, I just want to get this one done so you get to see how we can cast this. So in order to prevent from the stickiness to continue, I'm going to add a little bit of baby powder. And what this is going to do is prevent the stickiness, and also it's going to add some break-weighted surface tension, so it'll actually make the resin roll over a lot easier, preventing any bubble air pockets trapped. So what I'm going to do is just massage it a little bit, because this one needs some TLC. We don't want any rashes later on. That's a joke, of course. Here we go. Put this in here nice. Massage it deep. Okay. Into the pockets. Excellent. Might as well do it everywhere else. So it's stick anywhere. All right. Now look at it. I'm seeing some muddiness that's happening. It's probably moisture, so I'm going to go ahead and massage it out. Yeah. I did use the air duster here, but probably compressor would be best. But make sure when you use the compressor, you use it very lightly from a distance, slowly get close to it. So last thing you want to do is just damage your rubber or blow it away. So I'm going to lightly hit it. Make sure that area is still stuff in there. Massage it some more here. Alright. I'm just detail. I want everything done as much as possible right on my end, so later on, we just got a couple of stuff peeling off. This is good news. Alright. In fact, you could just take your finger, roll away around the edges. You get any loose silicones out. Put your finger on the edges as well here like this, massage it. I'm getting some moisture, muddiness out. You would have to use your fingers with skin, so you can feel it. If you have the glove on, you're not going to be able to feel all this detail that you are expecting to come out just right. And this area needs to be clean as well, otherwise it's going to go back down in. So make sure the whole model is nice and clean, your rubber mold. Normally I would cut these out. I would put it down on a table and just take a razor to it, cut it out. You can cut more than you need to, but for now it's thin enough where it's not going to actually cause an issue with the leveling. Let me do it again one more time here. Make sure it's dry. Seems the splotchiness there. Okay, that's good. Blow it one more time from a distance. Get that loose dust out. Alright, still seeing some muddiness. There's a lot of little pockets in there. But that's okay, that would pretty much go away, I'm noticing. Alright, let's do this. Alright. Alright. It's ready. We're using Model Pro. Here we go. So I'm going to stop right where the screws are revealed, the little holes. You see the two right there, those two. On purpose I went, those are basically my guide. I'm going to add just a little bit more so I get a little membrane on the top here. Go back and forth as well. And that should be good right about there. Yep. And now it's drying. Should be dry any minute now. Let me wipe off my hands here. So if we contaminate anything else. As you can see, it's pretty close, pretty good actually. Even the thickness, if you notice, there's some compensation there. On purpose I added. In fact, look right through the hole. See the hole? If you notice,